And before this video begins, I'd just like to give an extra special thank you to my Asbantium level patrons, Chris Douglas and Fallon Cortez. Thank you for supporting the channel. Gyms. The one word in common for the bulkiest of bodybuilders and the sweatiest of Pokemon nerds. Although, obviously, they mean two very different things. Unless you're a fighting type trainer, of course. Pokemon's main aim is to become the champion, the greatest trainer in a region, the ultimate pinnacle. But along the way, you're tested on your growth and ability through 8 gym battles, taking on unique trainers, gatekeeping your progress and ramping you up before you can even face the Elite Four and the existing champion at the end. These gym battles are one of the most persistent and beloved constants of the mainline Pokemon games. You have to prove yourself against all these type specialities and get your badges. It's a nice marker of progression. But if you're a Pokemon veteran, gyms can get a bit tiring. Sure, it's a fantastic tradition and cornerstone of the series, especially with the little puzzles to get to the gym leader. But it can become a bit formulaic when it's in every single mainline game. From 1996 to 2015, there were 6 generations of this formula. But then came Sun and Moon, which completely flipped the format on its head to great controversy. But I actually think it was the best thing the series could have done. Alola was right to banish gyms to the Shadow Realm. Okay, so tradition is a complicated thing, and naturally with a series like Pokemon, it's hard to change traditions without a lot of blowback. But as I mentioned, the gym format was becoming a bit predictable and too familiar. No matter what region you were in, no matter the history or the culture, everywhere had the exact same format. Ironically, it made the Pokemon world feel a lot smaller than it should be. The Alola region, however, is different. This is an old tropical nation made up of 4 distinct islands oozing with culture and history. It's based on Hawaii and Polynesian countries, and it is a very beautiful, diverse region. But what I love most about this setting is the lack of gym battles. Instead of this very rigid, formulaic structure, Alola has its own traditions in the form of the Island Challenge. Instead of each major location having a gym you just walk into and challenge its leader, who is just a stronger version of the other trainers in the gym, and a strong trainer you'd eventually encounter anyways, the Alolan Islands have these challenges to overcome to prove yourself worthy in the eyes of the Island Kahunas and the Island Guardians. It's a rite of passage, the kind of culture and tradition ingrained within those real Polynesian cultures Alola is based on. And in my opinion at least, it's honestly the best and freshest direction Pokemon has taken in years. In Sun and Moon, each island has between 1 and 3 island captains, essentially replacing gym leaders as markers of your progress, even though you don't battle them. To advance in the game, you have to take on their trials, which are a range of all sorts. From a gauntlet of Rattatas to collecting berries, and even a spot the difference, there's a real sense of variety that breaks the formula of gyms. It forces you to use actual skills and the equivalent of HMs like surfing and digging, so it all feeds into the social and cultural ecosystem of the Alola region. You have to show that you can live the island lifestyle to master the Island Challenge. It just makes sense. And of course, battling is still a big part of it, keeping the core of the game's progression tied to battling and leveling up your Pokemon. In fact, the culmination of every challenge is a battle against a so-called totem Pokemon, an especially strong Pokemon battle that stands between you and the progression. It sticks to that core spirit of the gym formula, but keeps it more in line with the setting's idea of people and nature coexisting. The focus is more on the Pokemon themselves than their masters, really emphasising that islander reverence and respect of nature and animals. So it ties in so well to the setting and gives everything a really strong cultural identity. And the best part of it all is that you still get the best of both worlds. Once you've completed the island challenges of each captain, you have to face the island kahuna, essentially the community leader of that island and the closest thing in these games to a gym leader. There are 4 of these in Sun and Moon, so you still get half your gym leader fix, just with this unique flavouring. They have decently tough Pokemon teams to overcome, and it's made more fulfilling by having to earn your way to even fight them, rather than just smashing a few easy trainers and solving some basic puzzles. You have to go through these island challenges first and complete the island itself just to reach these kahunas, making your victory feel that much more complete and earned. It really goes to show how you can expand the gym leader idea, especially since these kahunas still have type specialities, like Olivia being mainly rock type. So it really is just like facing a gym leader, but with such a fresh feeling to it. And again, it feels so suitably thematic for the region and its culture. Community leaders and tribal chiefs are hugely significant in Polynesian and island cultures, where populations are smaller and more tight-knit. In the Pokemon anime, gym leaders are shown to be hugely important and influential in their communities, but that doesn't really come across in the games most of the time. In Sun and Moon, however, it shines through that these captains and these kahunas are really important figures, and they're not just waiting in ruins for people to challenge them. You encounter them throughout the story as they're dealing with day-to-day matters. You build a sense of familiarity with them as you progress, and meet them even long before you have to battle them or take on their challenges. It manages to replicate that feeling of community and personality that the anime thrives upon, especially since these kinds of challenges often take the form of simply helping the captains investigate something or resolve an issue, just like you would often see Ash doing before he'd then battle the gym leaders for his own badges. The Island Challenge enriches the idea and feeling of adventure and exploration. Rather than these markers of progression being contained within single buildings, they're interwoven within the environment and breathe life into Pokemon staples like caves and forests. For me, the most important thing for any Pokemon game to have is a feeling of adventure. A journey into a fascinating and varied world full of stories and unique characters. The Island Challenge does this phenomenally, and makes your journey feel that much richer and more engaging. It's so fresh, a genuine shot in the arm for Pokemon, and showing that you can do something different with a protagonist's journey into the Pokemon world. It still has all the core ideas there, you're still encountering powerful Pokemon and strong trainers during your odyssey, but Sun and Moon just take a step back and think about how a region like the Islands of Alola would actually engage with Pokemon as part of their history and their culture. It's not like gym leaders or gym challenges were removed outright, they were simply retooled into this new method of environmental storytelling and deeper world building. And that's what these modern games should be doing. The totem Pokemon concept is so unique and brings so many challenges of its own, forcing you to adapt your gameplay and your tactics, because even with a significant type advantage, you can't easily just sweep them aside, especially not in the Ultra versions of these games. When viewed in tandem with the Kahuna Grand Trial battles, it's hard to not see the Alolan format as a huge leap forward for the series as a whole. The incredible quality and storytelling potential of the Alolan Island trials makes it so baffling that the series immediately reverted back to the status quo of regular gym battle. Now don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with the gym formula. I don't think it's intrinsically broken, it's just repetitive when you're a long-term fan. But in both Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, it's very much back to the formula of go to a new place and win the gym battle. Granted, Scarlet and Violet do mix in gym challenges of sorts before gaining access to the leader. These don't always feel synergetic within the gym itself or the wider world. They're just kind of very basic side activities as a little roadblock. It's like making Kiawe's Island Trial the norm, the weakest Alolan one, with nothing really to do with the cool volcano setting. I feel like Pokemon really missed an opportunity to continue changing things up in the way Alola does. It makes perfect sense that each region would have its own unique traditions and approaches to progression. Scarlet and Violet could have framed its challenges through the lens of its initial school setup. having the gym style challenges as exams throughout the region in different specialty subjects. Once you break from the traditional gym battles, you can do so much more with Pokemon as a series and as a world, making the regions feel so much more well realised and lived in because they don't have the same formula all the time. Hell, the establishment of the Pokemon League in Alola is a big part of Sun and Moon's narrative, seeing Alola's traditional Kahuna Gauntlet transformed into the more familiar Elite Four we know of from every entry, with you specifically becoming the first ever champion of the region, making the battles feel so much more fresh and the goal feel so much more personal. But naturally, with any big change like retooling gyms, it came with a big blowback, as a lot of fans didn't like the departure from tradition and familiarity. After all, the perception was that gyms were being completely removed, not reimagined and retooled this way. Just like how HMs weren't removed, they were just replaced with a much more accessible system. This obviously created a very negative feeling and perception amongst fans who valued the gym leader traditions, and Sun and Moon had a pretty bad reputation for a while because of how people saw that change. But when you actually play through the games, it's actually an incredible breath of fresh air and exactly what the series needed. If the Pokemon world is as big as our own planet, it makes so much sense for different regions to have vastly different cultures and approaches to the Pokemon journey. And that's what's so exciting and fresh about the Island Challenge. It feels like an entire other world, something new for both seasoned and rookie players alike. Battling is still very much at the forefront like it always should be in a mainline game, but for once that formulaic approach is tinkered with and changed. Because gym leaders and the Pokemon League aren't the be all and end all of Pokemon, there are so many spin-off games that don't even follow that concept at all. Is the Island Challenge change perfect? Of course not. But if this new approach had been the first in a line of alternative paths of progression, the series really could have blossomed in variety and depth after Sun and Moon. It's such a shame that Game Freak immediately returned to the status quo after that blowback towards Sun and Moon, because I really think they were right to remove and change gyms after 20 years of that formula. Change is scary, but the Island Challenge is an amazing progression that retains the general core of the series whilst deeply engaging with the wider setting in a way that makes so much sense and brings the region to life so much more than a bunch of gym leaders and stock buildings ever could. But unfortunately, it wasn't here to stay. And nearly 10 years later, it's been more of the same with the gym circuit returning. And I just think that's such missed potential, because there's so much you can do with redressing it like the Island Challenge. But on that note, thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And I'd just like to give an extra special thank you to my Asbantium level patrons, Chris Douglas and Fallon Cortez, my Diamond level patrons, That One Sleep No More fan and Valtar, my Platinum level patron, Matthew Burns, and all my Gold level patrons, Daniel Shillito and James Aluya Waterhouse. Thank you so much for your support.